Frank. What's the weirdest thing you've ever saw in here?
Let me ask you a question, kid. Did you see that movie, Night of the Living Dead?
Hey, we gonna party tonight or what?
Yeah, we are gonna party.
Well, where are we gonna party?
I don't know, somewhere.
Hey, we could go to the park.
Oh, no, we can't. The cops said they'd shoot us if we go back to the park.
Yeah, and I ain't in no mood to go tonight.
I like death.
Welcome to minute 74 of Do You Want to Party, the Movies by Minute podcast for the 1985 groundbreaking horror classic, The Return of the Living Dead. I'm your host, Troy, and joining us today for the first time is a new voice to the podcast, and it is...
Hi, I'm Olga. Love the movie since it first came out, so
Exactly.
Fan.
Yeah. Now, we had a conversation just before we started here and all that sort of thing. How did you first see this movie? Did you see it theatrically when it first was released, or did you watch it on home video like most of us?
Yeah, I watched on home video. I grew up in a very small town, but luckily the guy that ran the movie store was a horror freak.
Ah, yes.
So I think it was late summer of 87. He said,
Okay.
Hey, I got this movie in, and you should watch it. I was like 16 at the time. Brought it home, and oh my God, it was the best thing I'd ever seen. Definitely changed my life. I went from being wanting to be a club kid from seeing them on talk shows to, nope, I'm a punk now. And
Nice.
learn the Mohawks and all that. So I lived
Right.
up in a cowboy town, and here I'm the only kid with a Mohawk. So yeah.
So you would have stood out pretty much like the kids in this movie as well, because they seem to be outsiders from what the norm probably is in their small little Louisiana town.
Yeah, I rather hang out on the beach because I live on the coast of Washington, and everybody else was like, let's go ride horses. And I'm like, no, I'm going to go watch the surfers. Nice.
All right, so let's get into the meat and potatoes of this episode. So this particular minute is going to start with flipping the bench and ends with stepping through the back door. So in the foyer of the Resurrection Funeral Home, the locked doors of the wee chapel of the dawn have a huge hole shattered through one of them as the recently reanimated Freddy pushes further for his freedom. This ghoulish representation of the young man battles main obstacles to complete his quest. A large bench placed firmly against the double doors, halting their forward and open movement. Freddy's vision is completely compromised as a jar of nitric acid splashed into his face, causing the liquid to severely burn his ocular area. The flesh is a mess of pink and red gore caused by the acid eating away at his flesh. And on top of all that, his hunger of being dead has consumed him. Knowing nearby that there is a plethora of gray matter ripe for the taking, if only he can get out of his temporary prison. The returned Freddy has a slight advantage over most of his fellow dead, of which continue to storm the outside of this building. At his time of demise, he was young and imposing, allowing him to proceed in his act of freedom. His exit now big enough to push his entire torso through. However, unable to figure out why the door hasn't given way further to his assault on it, he literally, blindly, feels around the area just past his partial opening. His fingers quickly finding the blockade, grab it, flip the pew forward, and at the same time allowing Freddy's legs to push through the already compromised door. As the bench falls forward, Freddy's forceful forward momentum sends him tumbling out of the chapel. With exaggerated howling, he sloppily somersaults onto it and rolls onto his ass. With agility, he bounces to his feet, still angrily howling. His arms flailing wildly around his environment. Without sight, he stumbles to try and catch his bearings. Meanwhile, back in the embalming room, Bert leans against the actual back door of the building. His face, like those of around him, shine with a layer of accomplished sweat. He huffs out the steps of his plan.
Spider and I get one of the cars, we bring it up here to the door.
Spider, one of the young punks caught in the situation, points out a factoid about the vehicles outside.
Police car, they should still have the keys in the ignition.
Peeking through the small window of the door, while the murdering groans and wails of the collected dead outside can be more clearly heard, Bert observes Spider's information as he relays the situation to the others with an unlikely smile of fortune.
Son of a bitch, the motor's still running.
Spider quickly retorts his want to lead the vehicle to safety.
Good, I'll drive.
Bert instantly puts himself in that position.
No, I'll drive.
Which doesn't sit well with Spider, as he lets Bert know with a spitting curse.
Hey, fuck you!
Ignoring Spider, briefly, Bert happily mentions his unwillingness to be outside amongst the creatures for any length of time.
Now look, we drive up here. I don't want to hang out there any longer than necessary.
The time is 3:26 a.m. Still gripping his trusty lead pipe, Bert calls Tina towards the door beside him, with a short amount of instructions for her.
Young lady, you stand right here. Put one hand here, one hand here. When I say now, you open that door fast. The minute we're through, you slam that door hard and lock it.
Sitting in the chair is Ernie, the operator/owner of the funeral parlor. His foot elevated up on the examination table, the distinctive swelling under his white sock indicating the severity of his injury acquired moments ago. He stares at it intensely. While Bert continues with his details for Tina's important part of the plan, Spider holds his weapon at the ready. After done with the exposition to Tina, Bert turns to his friend of 25 years, demanding he makes his way over to the door.
Ernie, get your ass over here at the door.
As he lowers his foot off the table, all three sets of eyes look upon him. Ernie rises upon his one good foot, and he pushes himself forward towards the others that are culminating at the door. He hobbles and hops his way there. Once with the other, he composes himself for a moment, his face pale with highlights of pink on his cheeks and chin. His tiny ordeal to get to where he is reflected in the sheen of moisture over his face. He speaks clearly, but in broken sentences, to Bert in inquiry.
Bert, that favor that you owe me.
Bert acknowledges his words, to which Ernie instructs Bert what to do outside.
Watch your ass out there.
Both sharing a chuckle of levity for a second. Then, as the humor drops, Bert turns to Tina.
Where'd you stand by?
All four of these survivors ready themselves. Tina taking hold of the slide lock of the door. Bert readies his weapon like Spider has. And for a paused breath, the only thing that can be heard is the crowd of monsters roaming around just past the barricade the living ones are gathered around. And in a single word,
No.
the first step of the plan is set into motion. Tina opens the door, just wide enough to allow Bert to leave, and just as Spider is about to proceed behind him, that is where we end the minute. So we have a bit of a setup for a huge action sequence and all that sort of thing. We start off with the violence of Freddy and all that, doing his escape and whatnot. So what did you observe mostly about this particular minute there, Olga?
First time through, it scared the crap out of me, and I jumped back. You know, I watch everything in the dark for the first time by myself.
Of course.
And so I rented it on Friday, watched it that night, and I called my friend over to watch it, Shannon, and she comes over. And for some reason, my younger brother decided to come over. And he hates horror movies.
Okay.
So we're watching it, and at that moment, he starts bawling like a baby at 13 years old. Turn it off, turn it off. I'm like, go home. He's like, no, you can't make me. Just turn it off. I want it off. And it was like, no, go home. So he cried through the whole thing. So me and Shannon, being the mean girls we were at the time, invite her brother over to watch it. And I must have watched that movie 6 times that day with my brother
Nice.
crying the
All
whole
right.
time because he was too stubborn to go home and thought that he was going to get his way at my house. So,
I see. I see.
but yeah, he just sat there for the torture, and we just kept torturing him.
All
And
right. One of the things to, a couple of things actually to point out with this particular minute itself. When we see, Freddy does do his tumble and all that sort of thing. Again, this is something you wouldn't normally see on a regular watch through of the movie, no matter how many times you see it and all that sort of thing. But when you basically have to repeat the same minute over and over to make sure you get all the details and all that, you can see that when Tom Matthews rolls over, his t-shirt in front like pulls up slightly a bit, and you can actually see his torso. So they have gray makeup around his the waistband of his pants on his stomach and all that sort of thing, but just above that is completely unmakeup. So it's like completely flesh toned, healthy looking, regular skin and all that sort of thing, which is kind of funny. But again, you see it for like the briefest of seconds and all that. But again, it's a like, well, we normally wouldn't see that part of him anyways, and so why do up his whole entire? Because he's wearing a shirt. That's why we put him in a shirt, so we don't have to do all the makeup. The reason they
yeah,
also that's also the reason why they put Freddy in his jacket as well, so they didn't have to keep doing his arms and all that for the because once he becomes animated and all that sort of thing, he it would be more of a feat to have to keep doing his makeup on his arms
yeah,
over and
with him
over again.
sweating it off
Hence
back
the yeah,
then.
exactly. Hence the reason why Freddy then has a jacket put on him to avoid having to do so much makeup on him. Um, the mention of the time is an ongoing thing with this particular movie. When you see a movie where there is a clock within it, you sometimes, if you paying attention to it, you notice that the time doesn't go in coordination. Sometimes it's just something that gets missed and all that sort of thing. So it's like the time jumps back and forth, jump back and forth because they're using different edits and no one's decided to change the clock. It's really fascinating to see that this movie hasn't done that yet. The only thing is there seems to be within the minute of time, more time has actually passed. For example, like I said, this minute, for this particular minute, the clock reads 3:26. The previous minute, actually, the clock said 3:20, and the minute prior to that said 3:12. So within a
Oh,
3 minute of movie time, we have lost almost like 15 minutes of time and all that sort of thing, which is kind of interesting to see that. But the fact that the clock keep moving in the proper direction is always a nice thing to see, which means someone was definitely paying attention to the clock. And I think that's the main reason why that clock was put there, so that you can see the progression of time.
yeah, to make sure you
Um,
knew where the Easter eggs had hatched to,
yes,
time of
exactly.
detonation.
Yeah.
So,
Yep. Yeah, because we also look at the movie starts off at like five, like just before 5 in the afternoon. Um, and then we know that Frank and Freddy wake up sometime near 10 o'clock because that's when the punks decide to go see Freddy
go,
because that's when Freddy's supposed to get off work and all that sort of thing. And
yeah,
now we are sitting at 3 o'clock in the morning. So in the 74 minutes that this movie has run, we are now going through almost 12 hours of a day sort of thing, which is also a nice thing to kind of observe. And the one other thing I also want to point out is when, because you don't see much of it in the next minute, so I'm going to bring it up in this minute. When you are outside and you're looking into the back of the embalming room, you see the door open and then you see Bert and Spider step out. Well, you can see the back of the wall behind them, but what you don't see is the examination table, which is literally right there in the interior shot, but not there in the exterior shot. The reason that being is what you're looking at the exterior of the funeral parlor from the parking lot of it is just a facade. It's a fake wall that they put into the olive tree grove that they were shooting the cemetery sequence in, which is about 3.5 miles difference from where the interior of the embalming room is on one of the stages that they built within the giant area that they had to build all the different stages. So it's kind of neat to see the difference between uh, the fakeness of it and all that sort of thing. So yeah. Again, something you would probably only realize because the door is barely open for like a second and a half and all that sort of thing. But when you have
Yeah,
to
you
keep
don't
looping
really
through,
get to see
yeah,
out of it, really.
exactly. We then do over on the commentary track, which again is with writer and director Dan O'Bannon and the production designer William Stout. So Dan O'Bannon starts off with pointing out, quote, "Here he comes," as Freddy breaks through the door. William Stout compliments the makeup and associates it with Kenny Myers, referring to the eye damage and all that. Dan O'Bannon points out how the acid is supposed to have burnt his eyes. And then William Stout continues his accolades of Kenny Myers, having really come through with this one and done some great makeup. As Dan O'Bannon points out, Clu Gallagher doing his hero of the disaster film and how he wanted to get a tight shot of him with dramatic lighting, showing the drastic angles of his face. He then mentions Don Calfa and his newly padded up foot. He then goes on about the technique to make someone look like they are really sweating, where you don't. And this is Dan O'Bannon putting out his information, what he knows is how to do something and all that sort of thing. That you don't really to make someone look sweaty. You just don't grease them down. You spritz them in the sideburns and let it trickle down. And another place is the pit of the neck. As the characters set themselves ready, Dan O'Bannon says, "Here they go," and now we get a mini action movie. And obviously, that's where the end of the minute is, so that's where the end of the commentary track ends. All right. So according to the script, and this is, again, a story and screenplay by Dan O'Bannon with the revision from 1983 of October. And this is based on a story and screenplay by John Russo, Rudy Rickey, and Russell Steiner. Okay. So, interior embalming room, night rain. Bert, Meat, Ernie, and Tina. Bert and Meat are preparing themselves with the sledge and claw hammer. Bert to Ernie. "You'll have to stay here with Tina while..." Looks at Meat. "What's your name?" Meat. Meat. Bert. "Well, Meat and I go out to the cars. We'll drive right up to the door. And you got any more of that nitric acid?" Ernie, shaking his head no. "That was it." Meat to Bert. "Speaking of feet, man, how's your leg?" Bert snaps. "Don't worry about me." Meat. Which car do we take?" Ernie. "Take mine. Here's the keys." Meat. "I'll drive. I'm good." Bert takes the keys. "No, I'll drive." Bert and Meat look at Tina and Ernie. Moment of truth. Bert continued. "We'll be ready to move when we pull up to the door. We don't want to sit out there with the motor running any longer than necessary." Grim nods from Tina and Ernie. They get the message. Tina scared. "What if you guys don't make it?" Bert. "That would be a great shame." Bert and Meat take the sledge and the claw hammer. They position themselves by the back door. Everyone grows very tense. Exterior, back of mortuary, night, rain. The door bursts open, and Meat and Bert charging out, brandishing their weapons. Bert is limping. Now, the other thing that the movie has in a different order than the script has is the following, which technically I should have read at the beginning of this whole entire sequence, but in the script it comes actually after what I just read. So, interior, mortuary, hallway, night, rain. Crash. Freddy smashes a hole in the chapel doors. Snarling, wild-eyed, Freddy shoves his body through the shattered door panels, ignoring the damage it does to his body. His eyes are glazed over, blind. He feels his way down the hall to the embalming room and tries the door. It is locked. So, it's just a little out of order where the script has it, so I figured I might as well include the scene that actually happens, just in a different order. And more of that comes up in the following sequence, which is the workplace comparison. So in the previous uh, few minutes, we had the description of what the script said happened to Frank when he left the chapel. While everyone was distracted with Freddy and all that sort of thing, uh, Frank sneaks out behind everyone. Well, in the movie, we know what happens to Frank instead.
Yeah.
And we all know the story of why it happens, because James Cameron decided he didn't want to be doing any scenes out in the rain, so he proposed this sequence and all that sort of thing, that what happens to him and all that. And Dan O'Bannon thought, hey, that's a great idea. So while the script doesn't have that change, the script has Frank finding his way into Ernie's office. He locks himself in the office. He then finds a rat, eats the rat to get a little bit of nourishment from the rat's brains, and then that's when he throws himself through the window to get out of the building. He topples to the ground, and he makes his way through the cemetery in the still raining area. So, while the sequence of Frank finishing himself off is a little further along in the movie, in the work print comparison, it's right now. So it happens before they decide to run for the cars in the original way that it was culminated together. The other nice thing about it is, so basically, in comparison, we're dealing with this particular minute is minute 73 to 74, but the work print comparison is actually minute 87:54 to 91:26. So we get a nice little extra bonus only because of, in the work print comparison, we have Frank's sequence and all that. So it's Frank ending his existence, which again doesn't come till later in the movie. It is also much longer than the final edit. But when we get to that detail, I'll bring it up at the time when we get to that part in the final film minute and all that sort of thing. But just to know that the two versions are slightly different. But once the two versions of the movies line up again, we have the group shot of our view of the conversation starts out like it does actually in the script, with Bert asking what Spider's name is. And again, I forgot to mention at the time, the script has obviously, as you heard from what I said, I kept saying meat. In the original version, meat does turn out to be Spider, and if I ever mention the name during the script of Dee Dee, Dee Dee is actually referring to trash. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's yeah.
Yeah, I can see why they changed your name from Dee Dee. Really.
Yeah, exactly. Trash has a much nicer punkish name, and I don't think if the character of Spider, who turns out to be Spider, was a big hulking guy, calling him meat would be better. But the lanky toned Miguel Nunez definitely has a better. I don't think I'd be able to see him as being called meat. Spider works perfectly fine.
Suicide would have been a
Suicide
better,
would have been the better meat. Exactly. Yeah. But from the get-go, Suicide is given the name of Suicide, so he's already set in stone with his name.
Yeah.
Like I said, so when we actually start the scene, it's the foreshot of all the actors and all that sort of thing. So it's the pulled back shot, so you see all four of them. There's no close-up of Bert's face. There's no close-up of Spider's face as they have the conversation where it cuts back and forth between the two of them. They're all just gathered in this one full shot. So you see Don Calfa sitting in the foreground with his foot up on the table for the whole entire shot. Until he like stands up and all that. But where Bert asks for Ernie's keys in the script, Ernie then points out how unreliable his clutch is for his vehicle and doesn't actually suggest they use it. And at that moment, Spider then suggests the police cars. So it's something else that they changed different from the script to what they actually filmed and all that sort of thing. And then they even edited that to change it around once they did like the close-up shots and all that. One of the other great things is when Bert denies Spider his chance to drive, Spider actually says the line, "Fuck off, will you?" Which is kind of neat. It's a different take on that. And as this version's Ernie isn't oh right, in this version, the work print version, Ernie isn't asked to come to the door. He does go under his own direction as he asks Bert to fulfill his favor by saying, "No matter what happens, don't name it after me," which is a reference to the very first minute of the movie. And then the rest plays out the same as we do in the final version. So, I can understand it's probably some sort of lore for them to use to have Ernie use that line because it's obviously a line that Bert constantly uses, like whatever happens, don't name it after me, as his big joke and all that sort of thing. But the fact that it happened over an hour and a bit ago and it hasn't come up since, I think that's the reason why they probably changed the line to "watch your ass out there."
Yeah, I
So
think back in World War II when they get to go on shore leave and stuff, that was a
yes,
big
that
joke.
was that was
So
the yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
it does show Ernie with some uniformed people on his walls that
Yes, yep.
yeah,
Which
so
is
it
which has come up. So you can go into
yeah,
more detail if you want
yeah,
to
you,
about
you
that.
you definitely see a lot of
Yep.
German influences, shall we say,
You
at
can
the
you can say
for that
that. Yeah,
time.
to put it mildly, yeah.
Yeah, so everybody always was like, was Ernie a Nazi? Did he make a deal with the Americans so he could come over here? And it's just like, what did he get out of the deal? He gets to show people how to embalm other people.
Yeah, exactly,
But
exactly, yeah.
yeah, everybody has always commented on that. And there's just no explanation. And then, well, he's listening to, Nazi music. And it's like, well, how do
Yep,
you
yep.
know?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
He
so
he
I think
brandishes
it's
a
just like,
German
um,
issued weapon as well.
yeah,
It's yeah, no, it's definitely
yeah,
it's it's
yeah,
all the
but
clues are there, but they never come right out and say it, which is I think which was the intention of Dan O'Bannon. He didn't want to blatantly say it, but he wanted to lay enough breadcrumbs that the audience would come to, which earlier in the commentary he actually brings that up when we actually slightly after introducing Don Calfa's character and all that sort of thing. He does point out how the audience seemed to have picked up on it and all that sort of thing. So yeah.
yeah, 'cause he'd be right around the right age for all of that. So,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it would definitely have to be a much older audience that would have seen it at the first, but a lot of the people that became the fans are ones that grew up watching it time and time again on home video and whatnot. So yeah, yeah. That's about all that I got to say about this particular minute. You got anything else you want to say about the movie and all that sort of thing?
oh, man, it's still in my favorites. It's on my monthly watch list, along with the other
Right.
ones. But like the last two, I just play them in the background for the soundtrack because
Yeah.
that's about the
Oh,
only
for sure. Yeah.
thing good
Yeah.
about them. I haven't seen anything about the new ones, as in like trailers or anything other than the first one that showed Tarman with the
Yeah.
Christmas tree.
Yeah.
But
And the
they
fact that
knocked
I
his
believe
head
it's
off, so I
yeah.
was like, how are they going to do this?
Well, see, that's the other thing too, because when I had Alan Trotman on, the gentleman that plays Tarman, when they asked him to return to be Tarman in the second movie, he was confused as well because it's like, wait, didn't you knock his head off in the first movie? But again, Tarman returns in the second one, and then why not in this new movie, which was supposed to be slated for this Christmas, but apparently has been moved off to November of next year. So it's going to be like a
Okay.
Thanksgiving movie and all that sort of thing. But hey, that's not what we're here for. We're here for the
Yeah.
OG
The
version of the movie.
OG.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so as we wrap up this particular episode and all that sort of thing, why don't you tell people a little about yourself and all that sort of thing? You had mentioned
Um,
while we were setting up a time to record and all this, how that you work at home making props and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, I started getting into cosplay younger, and then I had kids, and it kind of died off. And then my youngest, he was like, "Hey, you ever heard of cosplaying?" And I was like, "Oh, let mommy show you."
Nice.
So I started taking her to one called AkiCon. It's
Okay.
18 under.
Oh,
So,
okay.
it was kid friendly and all that.
Okay. Cool.
And
Cool.
until they turned 18 and moved halfway across the country.
Oh,
That's okay. They're doing really good.
good. Good.
So now I get to go to the adult convention, again. And
Yeah.
so yeah,
Yeah.
I like to go meet the guests, get the pictures and the
Mm-hmm.
autographs,
Mm-hmm.
panels, listen to the stories, because there's stuff that you hear on panels that you wouldn't even think could be going on behind the scenes. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's a lot of purpose for me to do this particular podcast, to like get all the behind the scenes stuff and all that sort of thing. Because that's one of my favorite parts about movies is behind the scenes.
behind the
What went into
scenes,
the making of the
yeah.
movie, what happened when the cameras weren't filming and all that sort of thing. So yeah. When you said you started off with cosplay, when you pre-children, what sort of cosplay did you do?
Uh, I did a lot of like medieval stuff for a
Oh,
while.
okay.
Do like all the SCA Society for
Right, right,
Creative
right.
Anachronism,
Yep.
and a bunch of other groups, but it just kind of got boring because my friends kind of started having families and wandering off, and
I
it,
see. Yep, yep.
it just wasn't as fun anymore. Then I got in the cosplay with the kid, and
Right.
and now I've just kind of stepped it up a notch, and now me and my friend is starting to create props and masks and get them all decorated and stuff for sale, and getting ready for Crypticon coming up in May. So it's like 7 months away.
Okay.
But
Oh,
um
like crypt like the whole entire thing is featured around cryptids and all that sort of thing?
um that's
Or
what
is
I
it
thought
just the
at
name that they
first.
chose?
It
Okay.
Yeah, it's just the name they chose. I think
Gotcha.
maybe it started like 25 years ago. That's when,
Oh,
yeah, I haven't gone in like 15.
okay.
So yeah. But I have to go this year because David Howard Thornton will be there, and got to
The
meet
name
Art
sounds
the Man,
familiar. That name sounds familiar. Who is that?
Art the Clown. So
Thank you. Oh, I can't believe that I'm like, oh, who
yeah.
that name sounds
Well,
familiar. Why is it so familiar?
he
Oh, right, of course, freaking Art the Clown. Like, how could you not realize that?
yeah,
Fudge.
because those are like the only movies he's been in other
Yeah.
than The Mean One and Screamboat Willie, I think it is another
Yes,
one.
that's right.
So
He is, isn't he?
yeah,
Yeah, I remember
yeah,
seeing that. I think I saw
yeah,
that before Terrifier, actually. Just happened to be the way I just saw him. Like, oh, let's see what this Steamboat Willie horror film is all about. Once the name went to public use and all that sort of thing.
yeah. I haven't
Um,
seen that yet.
it's
We're saving it for the next watch party
okay.
here.
Okay, I won't say anything about it then. I won't say anything about it, good or bad. So I take it you're generally a horror fan to begin with, like,
um, oh yeah.
yeah.
I could remember sneaking at like 5. We watched my parents were watching Trilogy of Terror, and that was my first
Oh
horror movie with
yes.
Karen Black.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
when that doll come chopping through that
Yep, yep,
door,
yep.
I screamed
At a
and
young, yeah,
ran.
at a young age, that would definitely set. Yeah,
Yeah, my mom was like, "Don't you be sneaking out of bed anymore." But
that'll learn you.
um, yeah, that just I had to have more. So
All right. So that being said, we're going to wrap up this particular minute. Olga, it was fantastic having you on. Actually, um,
anytime.
what we actually sort of crossed paths when I inquired you as a moderator of one of the Return of the Living Dead Facebook moderators. Is that not correct?
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just Return of the Living Dead fan group. There's quite a
Right.
few of them out there.
There are
So
quite a
I,
few. Yes, yes,
I
yeah.
try to stick to one or two so I can keep track of what's posted where.
Yes, exactly. So, that being said, that is definitely a reason why I had you on here, because you're like, well, a moderator of a of a fan page about this movie should definitely be hoot. So yeah, I'd love to have you come back in a future minute. Again, we are at 74 of 91, so we'll be doing this on a weekly basis until end of January. So I'll definitely call you back in sometime soon, because this has been great.
All right,
Audience,
yeah.
I want to thank you. I want to thank you, audience, for joining again on this train ride. We're coming up on the end. Do me a little bit of a favor, everyone listening to this. You are obviously listening to minute 74 of a podcast devoted to this particular movie, and chances are that you're this far into it because you're a fan, and chances are you probably know someone who is also a fan of this movie. So do me a favor if you could, and send this podcast their direction, because I'm sure if you have friends that love this movie and you're enjoying this podcast, that they'd probably enjoy this podcast. So do you mean the more ears we get onto it, the more we can grow the love of this particular movie? So right now we're going to put out there a current list of upcoming conventions in North America. This is something I should have been doing for quite a while, but after a couple of interviews with the actors, I've decided, better late than never. So here's where you will have an opportunity to meet and greet any of the cast members currently traveling around. November 8th to 9th, Memphis MonsterCon in Memphis, Tennessee, where you'll be able to meet Linnea Quigley and Jewel Shepard. November 15th and 16th, San Antonio Fear Fest, San Antonio, Texas, where you get to meet Alan Trotman, as well as Return of the Living Dead Part 3's Melinda Clark. November 22nd to 23rd, Days of the Dead Chicago in Chicago, Illinois, where you'll be able to meet the entire cast. December 5th to 7th, Days of the Dead Indianapolis, Indiana, where you'll be able to meet the entire cast.
All right, so to keep an eye out so I know if anybody's coming to Seattle or nearby.
I don't think. Well, at least this year, I don't think anyone's coming near Seattle. But weekend prior to Halloween weekend, the cast was in Pittsburgh, and it was the Night of the Dead weekend. Where it took place at the mall where they shot the original Dawn of the Dead and all that sort of thing. And there was like cast members from all of the Romero movies, plus the I would say, quote unquote, young cast of the Return of the Living Dead in it there as well. I talked to Beverly basically the day before Halloween, and she was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe how exciting it was to there." They actually had built sets for them to take photos in. Like there was a scene set up where they were in the basement with the Easter eggs and all that sort of thing, and then there was a sequence where they were in the warehouse. So there was shelving put up and all that sort of thing. So you could have pictures with the cast members either with the Easter eggs or with the in the warehouse and all that sort of thing. So it looked kind of a cool little situation, which unfortunately a little far away and a little out of my budget. All right. So that being said, once again, thank you, Olga. Thank you, audience. And I got nothing else to say except see you next Wednesday.
You've just been listening to a Planet Geek production of Do You Want to Party? A Movies by Minute podcast of the 1985 The Return of the Living Dead. Please be sure to subscribe, download, comment, share, rate, and review. Be sure to follow us on our social media platforms: Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Tumblr, or Letterboxd. Search for Planet Geek Productions. X, former Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky, search for Planet Geek Pod. Or send us an email to planetgeekpod@gmail.com. Our closing music is provided by Night Chill. See the show notes for more details. Once again, thanks for tuning in, and farewell, fiends.
Greetings, ghouls, and welcome to minute Whoops. I almost said 47. That is where we end the movie. That is where we end the minute. I don't know why I said movie. I have no idea why I said the word movie. Um, so, let's see here. Let me bring up let's say you want me to read a script for you? I'll read a script for you. Let's see what we got here. I got to bring that up on my other screen here. Oh, no, I shut it down. That's going to slow me down. No, I didn't. Here it is. Okay, let's go back to the first page. All right. All right, I'm glad I actually got you to come back on that. So, I mean, I'm probably not going to use all of what we were just talking about. I might just chop out my whole entire part about, because I talk about it like at the beginning of this podcast. Every other episode, I was talking about An American Werewolf in London, just because it was my comparison to why I love this movie so much. Is the reason why I love this movie so much is because I was able to watch An American Werewolf in London. So I don't know, but then again, it's been a while since I've talked about American Werewolf in London, so it's probably a nice refresher and all that sort of thing.
You can't plug the movie enough, honestly. I mean, that transformation scene for that time period,
oh my god, yeah, no, it's
unheard of.
Well, even for now, even like you pull that sequence out of it and show it to someone nowadays, the only thing that gives it away as an old movie is the look of David Naughton. I mean, he looks like a guy in the 80s to begin with. Again, that's me going on against my again, American Werewolf in London is my favorite horror movie of all time. I've yet to find anything that's come close. This is very high on my horror list. But one of my other favorite technically horror films is also Young Frankenstein, the Mel Brooks and all that sort of thing.
Yes.
Just because of its loving devotion to the original series, how the movie feels like it could be a legacy sequel to that and all that, just because the look of it, the sound of it,